Hello, and welcome to the second part of the mini-series tutorials where we're looking at feedback, how to gather feedback and how to use feedback to improve your game. So we started by making this game here, which is it's just quite a small capture the flag game. I'm using a hot air balloon package that I created in another tutorial where I looked at thrusters. And I just really cobbled this together in a day and a half, just to sort of look at how we can make a game quite quickly and then use feedback from the community to improve the game and focus on that rather than spending ages making like an epic game and then find out from the community that it's not ticking their boxes. So we're essentially now in kind of uncharted territory where I don't necessarily know what the journey for this game is now, because it will be down to the players that play it and the feedback that they give me. But I'm in control of how I interpret that feedback and then implement what I think will solve any problems or add those cool features that people want. I'm in charge of what goes on there. And so how do I do that in a nice way where I'm still being responsive to the community, but in a way where I'm not sacrificing the integrity of my artistic vision, which is also like why we make games, right? We have a thing to say, or we have a story to tell, or something we want to be creative about. So we still want to love the thing we're making, even if we're using feedback from the community to make it better. So after I made the game, last time I said I was going to put some posts on the forum and on Discord and stuff like that. And I did. I put a post on the forum, which was here in the game releases. And I was super lucky to have some really fantastic feedback from some players. I had 3 players that gave me some feedback. And they broke it down. They offered some things that they really liked about the game, and they also suggested some improvements I could make. And that is really, they really did like a masterclass in feedback, because if you look, they've offered good things, and they've also offered solutions for problems that they found. And this one particularly, Hisokan, Hi Soken, also linked a video of a bug that they found. And that is amazing, because I'm going to get onto bug fixing, but that was just super useful. So thank you so much to you 3 for responding to my post and to offering me feedback. Equally, thank you so much to the people who responded to my post on Discord. So here's my post on Discord in the looking for feedback channel. And I had some great responses from people there, and some really lovely people said some lovely things. And I got a real sense that the Crayta community is just full of lovely people who want to help each other make things, which is pretty true. So that's great. So yeah, thanks to everyone that gave me feedback on my game. And this session, this tutorial, I'm going to have a look at improving the game. How do we take that feedback? So what I did was I collected that feedback, and I also visited, I also visited create.crayta.com. Went to the create tab and went to my game, and then I had a look at, we've got the analytics here and the feedback. So the analytics tell you kind of the metrics, so how many people played, when did they play, what sort of dates did they play on, how long did sessions last, all of that sort of stuff. And so that's really handy for knowing how many people you're reaching and who's playing the game and how popular it is and all that sort of thing. And then the feedback tab is really useful if players have left feedback. So there's 4 categories. They can leave it on how much fun it was. They can leave feedback on whether the controls are like whether the controls work for them, and that they understood how to play the game. Then they can also leave responses on performance and stability. So those are the more sort of technical side of things. So we've got these 2, which are really sort of the game design side of things. And then we've got these 2, which is more like the technical game performance side of things. So there's some really good opportunities there. And if you do play someone else's game and want to offer them feedback, but don't necessarily want to engage on Discord or on the forum and write lengthy posts or anything like that, this is a really, really useful way to let the creator know what you think of their game and whether you enjoyed playing it or not. Even that is a really useful thing. So this is like quantitative kind of measurements. And then in the forum and stuff where there's just detailed descriptions and breakdowns of what people think, that's more like qualitative research. And that's really, really handy for like, this is the actual problem. This is a problem that I faced and here's some possible solutions. And you can talk to the people on Discord and on the forum to make sure that you're getting things right and you're responding to their request correctly and in a nice way. So that's where our feedback is coming from. And then I took that feedback and I plonked it in a spreadsheet. You don't have to do this bit. You can if you like. I just find it quite useful to kind of put the game out for maybe a week and see what feedback I get, just in case there's things that contradict each other, or there's an underlying problem which is causing some smaller things to bubble to the surface, but actually there's a deeper problem in the game. So it's good to like leave it for a little bit and let players enjoy the game, see how they use it and all that sort of stuff. And so I just gathered this feedback in one place, wrote descriptions about what people were saying were bugs or features that they wanted, and then thought about how I might be able to tackle some of those things and categorized the things people saying, whether they were a feature request, a bug, and I gave bugs a class. So that essentially means a game-breaking bug that will stop the fun is a class A bug, and a bug that doesn't really wreck the fun and you can kind of make do with it is a class C bug. So I categorized them, and then I thought about how hard or how long or short the solution might be to implement. And by doing it this way, it essentially means that now I've got some quick wins. So things that I can do very easily, won't take very long, but still respond to that feedback. So that does two things. That improves my game, and it also engages the community even more in playing my game, because it means that they can see that I'm improving it and I'm working on it, and so they might check back in, they might come back with their friends, they might shout about, hey, this game is good, this person keeps working on it and developing it and improving it. And also, if I was to make a sequel to Balloon Typhoon Lava Dash, which is ripe for a sequel if you ask me, if I was to make a sequel, then I've got all of this knowledge about how people play the game and how I can improve it going forwards. So that's cool too. So we have some things that I want to look into. Specifically, there's this no hints for the controls. So a couple of people, actually I think there was 2 or 3 people that said they didn't know how to play the game from the start. The game does not use your conventional control scheme because you're flying a hot air balloon and not running around as a person. And also it's in orbit camera, not action camera. So there is a bit of a little bit of an onboarding that needs to be taken care of. So I want to have a look at the control scheme. I think that's a really important thing, and that will also stop new people playing the game. So that's a real important one for me. There was a bug that someone found where it wasn't really a bug. It's just the flag was a bit fiddly to try and pick up. And yeah, that's quite an easy one to solve. I just make the flag trigger larger. So I'm definitely going to do that in the next round. And I want my game to be easy. The point of the difficulty of my game is the flying bit. The flying bit is the hard bit. I don't want picking up flags to be difficult. I want that to be super easy. The hard bit and the fun bit is being in the air. So I want to focus the game on that. So I'm going to make that easier. And also this bug, which is a bit of a game breaking bug. And this is the one with the video, but basically when you pick up a flag and die immediately afterwards, you get a point? That doesn't seem right. So let's look at these bugs. So the first one was no hints for controls. So this is a pretty straightforward bug to look at. And it's quite a common thing, I think, in games that maybe don't use the standard control scheme or don't necessarily have the rules already laid out, like a capture the flag game. So how do we tell people what to do in our game? So this one for me is quite straightforward because the game controls are kooky. So let's give our players a hint about that. So I'm going to go to the user template, going to go to the prompts script folder, And if you scroll down in here, it's got the prompt scripts, and you can actually write instructions here to give people, your players, a breakdown of what the controls do. So, for example, the jump that I can put in here in the jump instructions, I can say fire thruster to go up. And if I hit enter, and then if I test the game and press F5, it says press spacebar to fire the thruster to go up. Now, it's a bit of a long-winded instruction. It's not the most nicely worded, but you can see what I'm doing is I'm essentially going to write some instructions that stay on the screen in those prompts. So let's go back to the user and let's go back to the prompts. And for the primary instruction, which is the fire button, at the moment the fire is the wind and it blows the balloon in the direction you're facing. So blow the balloon in, I'm going to blow the balloon forwards. And hopefully that will make sense. So if I test the game now, it's saying press mouse to blow the balloon forward, press spacebar to fire the thruster to go up. Now I could just skip the middleman with the fire the thruster thing, I think, and just word those a little bit nicer. So rather than fire the thruster to go up, I might just say to go up. I think that's then it's shorter, it's sweeter, it's very much more to the point. Press spacebar to go up, to go up. Okay, so that's that bug done. That was like quite a simple and easy one to get started with, and it's quite nice to do one that's quite straightforward to get started with, so that you're making progress. And I'm full of confidence now because I fixed something that someone asked me to fix. So what's the next bug? Well, the next one was let's just check actually. Let's just check the bug sheet. So that one's done. Tick. This one here, fiddly flag, I've called it. So let's go back to the game. I'm going to affect the flag spawner template. At the moment, this is the trigger. It's 250 by, this is the trigger. It's 250 by 250 by 250. I'm going to make it twice that, 500 by 500 by 500. So it's a much, much bigger trigger. And let's see whether that's made it a little bit easier to go and pick up the flag. So I'm going to quickly navigate over to the other side. Fortunately, by the time I get over there, the lobby is complete and we're in the game, so the flag will be there. So I just need to go over here and land on here. Sometimes it's nice to... That was another bug that came up actually, which was running into things can alter the rotation. That was much nicer actually, picking up that flag, yeah. But yeah, another bug that came up was hitting things can make a little bit of a disjointed physics kind of issue, where it just snaps like that. That's because on tick, I'm setting the rotation to 0 on tick, and that's done on the server, and then it propagates to the client. So the physics engine runs on the client, and essentially when the physics does that on the client, it's like, oh, we've got an issue, we've run into a thing. But on the server, it's like, set the rotation to 0 every second or every frame. And so there's like a bit of a disconnect that when it writes, it's quite disjointed. Now, I've classed that as a class C bug because whilst it does affect a little bit gameplay, it's not the end of the world. It's quite minor. And for the amount of, because to fix it, I really have to go into you know, physics, the physicsy side of things. Do I create my own physics on the balloon, or it's quite deep into the actual engine, how I might fix that, and I'm not going to do that right away. I want people to keep playing the game and I want to keep improving it, so I'm going to find the easy ones, the quick wins this time round. Okay, so picking up the flag is much nicer now. And so the last one I'm going to look at is this dying scores points bug, where you pick up the flag and you return, and then you, if you die immediately after that, you score a point. So let me show you what that looks like in action. So, and this is an important step. When you come up with a bug, or someone has a bug that they tell you about your game, the first and often most difficult thing is going to be replicating the bug, because you need to know that the bug happens on every game, or exactly how to create the bug, so that you know whether it's fixed or not when you add a fix. So if you can't replicate the bug, then you might need to ask the person that gave you that feedback to give you a little bit more detail about how they created the bug, or how the bug occurs. Because if you don't have that information, it's very, very difficult to know that you fixed it, and you can end up just going round and round and round thinking that you fixed the bug, and then it's not fixed, and then go on and on and on. So yeah, first step, replicate the bug. This is where a video is so helpful in terms of feedback. If you do hit a bug, see if you can record your screen with you doing that. So I don't know if you spotted that, but let's open the console. So over here where it says 2, I had 1 point for getting the flag, and then I got another point for dying with the flag. Dying once I'd placed the flag. Yeah, so that's not ideal. Now, how do I fix that? So I can replicate it, which is the first step towards fixing that bug. How do I fix it? So the first thing I think is, what in-game event is causing that bug to occur? So that's the start of the string, if you like. If you're thinking about it like spaghetti, that's the start, and then you have to follow the trail. So that happens when a player dies and they get a point. Now I know that in the game, if I type in here game, in the game controller on the script called game script, there is an on user died function which gives out the points. So if I scroll down in here, on user login, on user log out, set user team, add team score. So this is where I'm getting scores, and then on user died. So the user is falling into the lava and dying, and then it's looking at from user. So it's getting hold. It's supposed to, at this point, because the capture the flag game is about shooting the other team, it's supposed to then get the person that shot you and give them award them a point. But for some reason, because of the way that I set up the balloons and the player and, you know, respawn logic and all of that stuff in this game, this is sending add team score to the same team. So if I just comment that line of code out like that, that means that line of code is no longer being run. Let's test it now and see whether by taking that line of code out, that's stopped me receiving that point. Now, it's not necessarily fixed yet, just because I've taken out that line of code, because there might be a little bit more depth to it. It might break something else. So if I've taken out a line of code, that could end up breaking some other aspect of the game that I haven't thought about. So now that I've implemented or attempted a fix, which logically should work, we have to do something called regression testing, which means we go back and we test our game thoroughly to make sure that that fix hasn't broken some other aspect of the game, particularly the scoring mechanic, but also maybe the respawning stuff. I just want to make sure that dying and spawning also still work. So I'm going to firstly test that fixes the bug, because otherwise there's no point in testing the other stuff, because if it doesn't fix the bug, then I've failed that mission. So I'm going to die, go into the lava. Oh no, down I go. Okay. But I still have scored another point. So that wasn't the problem. And so now that I've tried out that method and it hasn't worked, I'll just try again. Let's see if I die this time, whether it works or not. Is it every time I die? No. Okay. So now that I've tested that, what I need to do is think about, okay, that didn't fix it. So something else must be broken. So I'll put that line of code back in, and then I'll continue to research this and try and figure out what the source of the problem is, and then put a fix in. And I'm going to continue to work on that until I've done that, or I can just decide, okay, I'll push the fixes I've done at the moment. I'll push those out and I'll republish the game and with those fixes and updates. And then I'll come back to this, or I can continue to work on this and figure it out until it's done. But that's essentially the crux of getting feedback and continuing to improve your game. So thinking about the problems that you're being given and trying to find creative and fun solutions that work within the constraints of the game engine and that work within your creative vision of the game. So I hope that that tutorial on implementing feedback has been useful. And if you want to play my game and send over some feedback, I would be more than happy to read it and to see what I can do about improving this game further. And I really look forward to seeing you in my game in Crayta.